What is up, Bucktooth Buckos? Oldmantup coming at you today, coach of the Pittsburgh Pirates, with our post-game press conference for Week 4 after our match with Crimson Sea Bad and the Detroit Steel Wings. We won that match 1-0, keeping us at 500, our first time ever getting 2 wins in the same season, which, I mean, we're still without ever having a winning streak, but we're going to rectify that this week against the St. Louis Rampardos and A-Drive. Now, we're 2-2 going into Week 5. We had a pretty solid performance all around, aside from the missed turn 1 with Excadrill making Raitos go down, getting burnt beyond all recognition, and unfortunately not getting any action. But everyone else played very remarkably, exceptional performance from Blue the Curum, who just laid waste to everything that was in front of it. So let's dive into your questions as they appear on my screen from bottom to top on the video. Ivan Valdez says, "Congrats on your win. Let's talk business. You face one of the biggest and strongest battlers next, which is A-Drive. How do you feel facing A-Drive? Will you make any transactions? Final question. If you beat A-Drive, do you think it will put you back into the playoffs?" So how do I feel facing A-Drive? Dan is pretty much one of the overall percentage-wise best battlers in this format among the major leagues. He's only lost, twice in the GBA? Well, twice last season, a few times in Season 3. But, I mean, very, very well respected among the GBA coaches. I look forward to playing him because I've never beaten him. And that says to me I need to step up to the challenge and show him what is up. So, am I going to make any transactions? It is already too late to make transactions that will affect this week. So, no, I will not. Final question. If I beat Dan moving forward, and it is a fairly hacksless game, I think that is going to make people take a second look at the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, we've already lost twice within the division, so losing a third time could be critical and knock us out of the playoff race. Now, if we beat Dan, that will put Dan immediately below us in the rankings because we both have the same record going into this, 2-2. So getting to 3-2 would be fantastic. It won't exactly put us right into the playoff race, but I mean, at this point in the division, no one is really out of it because the records are so close, especially in our division. Lars and the Borussia Dawn fan are 3-1. Gym Leader Geo, A-Drive, and myself are all sitting at 2-2 with all different differentials. So, I mean, it is literally the tightest division in the entire GBA currently. El Scizor, aka Lars, says, "Do you think it will make the playoff race easier or harder to be in the closest division so far?" Well, I mean, that's actually a double-edged sword because right now, even though we are in the closest division, we are sitting at the bottom of that division because we have the worst differential, even though we share the same record with everyone else. Like I said, we've already lost 2 matches within the division. Losing more would be really bad because even if we end up with the same record and same differential, after that they go back to division matches. So if I lose a bunch of division matches, that's going to be really bad in our attempt to move forward into the playoffs. So at the same point it makes it harder, but at the other point it makes it easier because we are all neck and neck. Okay. Agadir, I apologize for butchering that name. "Coach, do you plan to include more edits in your GBA videos? That cool running opening gave me chills." Thank you very much. As brief as that was a lot of work. I'm not used to putting that much editing into videos. When it's appropriate, I believe I will put it in every possible opportunity I can. But that being said, it will be done when it's appropriate. I don't want it to become overkill. I don't want it to take over the face of the videos. But when they are appropriate, and when I can find the right stuff to put in, they will be there every single time. The Ryan Plummer says, Coach Tup, how do you plan to keep momentum going after this big win? Do you plan to use Curum more often, or will it play more of a six-man role the rest of the season? Now, Curum played out of his mind this week, notching 3 kills and just devastating the team. And Curum, unfortunately, is going to be team matchup based, pretty much like everything else. But unfortunately, Curum shares a weakness that, like, almost half the team has, and that's fighting. So, it will be dependent on matchup, like I said. So you are going to see, you're definitely going to see him come back out, because he matches up very well against some of the teams we're coming up against. For A Drive, I'm not going to say one way or the other what we're going to bring, because we really don't have, at this point, our team makeup made. We know what's going to be good for us, and we know what's not. So we're really going to have to take a look at that. How do we plan on keeping the momentum going? If we can beat A Drive this week and get back-to-back wins for the first time in Pyro Today history, and move forward going, it's just going to be fantastic. If we can beat Dan, which I plan to, I really think that will catapult us and really make people take another look at the Pyratitas. How are we going to do that? Buckle down, keep up the good game planning, have more than one answer when we can to everything on his team, and just move forward. And like I said, buckle down, keep our strategy sound, and just play to our strengths. It's Stealth plays? Steckel plays? Dude with a green sword. What were you thinking when you lost Exadrill right away? Well, looking at the matchup, the things that I brought Exadrill for specifically weren't so much on the field. What was I thinking? I was thinking, I do not have anything that can come in and take a Brave Bird. So, at that point, I was hunting for information and hoping to deal a huge hit to Staraptor. Because had that Rock Slide hit, not only does it have a very minimal chance to flinch, but it also would have put it well within range of Stealth Rocks killing it when it comes back in. Because I think the minimum damage it did, even with his HP investment, I think it was like an 83 to 70 some percent. I think it was like 74%. So minimum roll from that would have put it exactly 1% live coming into Stealth Rocks. So weighing my options at that point, I didn't want to sack anything right off the bat. I would know, because the only thing on it that would 2-hit me was close combat. So, if it was Scarfed, to be honest, I was expecting the U-turn, and it would outpace me at that point. And it turned out it was Scarf, but not fast enough to outspeed Scarf Exadrill. So I also found out that it wasn't max speed right away. In my opinion, it was the best move to make turn 1. Not knowing what he was going to go for. I mean, had I made the right prediction and gone into Jellicent, hey, that would have been fantastic. But had I not, and he U-turned, brought in a counter right away, we would have lost a lot of momentum. Granted, we wouldn't have lost a Pokemon, but that is what I was thinking going into that. Now, the Dallas Star U asks, Coach Tup, your second round draft pick Celebi currently ranks 157th at the bottom of the stats leaders. Do you believe Celebi will be motivated by Curum's hat trick to turn around his underwhelming performance last week? Underwhelming performance next week against St. Louis to net your first division win. And he also links where he gets that information from. Now, when I picked up Celebi, I was not expecting it by any stretch of the imagination to lead stats in any category. But where Celebi has fit in every week, granted when we weren't running gimmick sets, he has done exactly what I have needed him to. scout, and pivot. So, granted, he hasn't notched a kill yet or done anything game-changingly dramatic. He is doing what I have asked of him every week. While he could be doing more, I am not displeased with what he has done for us so far. Teen Jesus, aka Cody, says, first win since week 1. Does this give you any confidence moving forward? It absolutely does. It would have been very devastating for team morale to lose back-to-back weeks to winless teams. Because when we played Geo, he had yet to win a match, and he destroyed us. When we played Crimson, he had yet to win a match, and we went toe-to-toe with him. So pulling out that win was definitely crucial for morale in the locker room, and it was very good to see the team come together as a cohesive unit and fight side by side. Black Spotted Zebra, the artist who brought you the logo of the Pittsburgh Pirates, says, the team has seemed really distracted these past couple of weeks. Is there a conflict in the locker room among the players? And how do you plan to refocus the team's attention? Well, until this week, the team has been playing one with themselves in mind. This last week, the team really focused on working as a cohesive unit, and it took that long for them to realize that as individuals, they are not going to do anything in this league. But when they play together as a team, and like I said, work cohesively as a unit, they come together and win. How do you plan to refocus the team's attention? Just remind them about what it took to get that victory last week, and remind them that's how we have to play moving forward. Okay, and Joam says, after next week's match, everyone in your division will have played each other. How do you think the table will look at that time? Now, this is actually going to be a really interesting week. Because if Gym Leader Geo beats Lars, who haven't played yet, which is El Scizor, both of those teams will be sitting at 3-2. Now, if I beat A Drive, we will also be sitting at 3-2. However, if we lose, we'll be sitting at 2-3. So whoever wins between me and Dan will possibly be tied for the lead record-wise, not differential-wise, for the division. So it's either going to spread us apart or really clump us all together, depending on how the wins go. How do I expect? Gym Leader Geo has played out of his mind good the past 2 weeks. I mean, granted, we didn't play that fantastic against him in our match, but the way he is playing, he very well could pick up a victory against Lars. Lars has been playing very good, and I expect him to go very, very far in this competition. But at the same time, the momentum Geo has moving forward, I think might push him up over that hump. So I'd really like to see a really close clumping after that. And do you think it will be an accurate forecast for the end of the season? Anything can happen any week. And only being about halfway through the season, I don't think there's any clear-cut winners at this point. Because, like I said, our division is so close. A few of the other divisions are relatively close. Granted, their differentials are a lot broader than what's in my division. But I think that's what it's going to come down to. How people play coming down the home stretch. I mean, a team could be fairly low, 500 or below, but I mean, they win out the last 4 or 5 games of the season. That puts them right back in the hunt. Especially since we still have to play everyone in our division again after week 5. Now, Spino James says, can you rank all your matches so far from what you feel you were the best prepared for? Okay, well, let's start with the least. I believe I was the least prepared for my match against Geo, and it showed by how devastatingly I was defeated. It was the Thanksgiving. I don't want to blame it on that. But I felt we were the least prepared for that, just because of the holiday and everything was crazy. But I mean, the same could be said for Geo. He could have felt he had the least time to prepare, and he still whooped our butt. So that is by no means an excuse. How I want to rank next? Oh, shoot. I want to say I was the next least prepared for Gubs. Even though we beat Gubs 3-0, there were many points in that match where if one thing had changed, like if he had gone for Swords Dance on his Zoroark, the one turn he was thinking about doing it, he would have won the game. And he would have probably beat me 3-0. But things like that I wasn't prepared for, had they happened, would have completely changed the outcome of the match. Now, I felt we were very well prepared for Lars. I do. And even though we got beat 3-0, what you gonna do? It ultimately came down to that one turn with my misplay with T-Tar that the match was changed ultimately. And I really believe we prepped for that match well. We were well prepared. It was just a bad play on my part that cost the match. And yeah, and ultimately, I feel against Crimson Seabad, we were the best prepared. Even though it was only a 1-0 victory, and it came down to it at the end, I felt the way we played, and I felt the way the team was structured and came together, we were the best prepared for in that match. Now, if you want to give your opinion in the comments down below how you feel I did going into the matches, you're more than welcome to. Okay, Sharpedoite asks, are you a bit nervous going against one of the historically best coaches, not only in this league, but in other, less competitive leagues? Am I nervous? Absolutely not. We have played Dan twice already. Granted, that was with an old team, and he had an old team. But we've played him twice in this league, and he is our returning division rival. We're going to get to play him 2 more times. That's if we don't see him in the playoffs. So, am I nervous? Absolutely not. I think he has a really good team matchup against mine, especially since he got rid of Keldeo and picked up Heracross, and I'll claim till the day I die he did that for the division matchup with me. I see you, Dan. But anyways, am I as nervous? No, because I've played Dan twice, and I have a very good feel for his play style. So, granted, he may whoop my butt all over the place, even though I know that. But am I nervous going into it? Not as much as most people would probably think, considering how good Dan is in this format. And speaking of Dan, A-Drive himself asks, you're going up against something you haven't beaten yet. And he even quotes my record against him, 0-2. And the last season conference champion. How do you feel against your matchup against Rampardos? Now, the first match we played against A-Drive, I feel we played extremely well. We made a few misplays that ultimately cost us the match. But I felt we played well against him. A second match, not so much. It was more of desperation trying to get a win, and it just didn't happen. Now, we're going up against A-Drive, and in my humble opinion, his team matches up against mine fantastically. And we are having trouble building a team to cover all the threats he has, because he has a bunch. But that just motivates me more to put my nose to the grindstone and get this first victory against someone who is projected to do very well this season. I mean, his team is fantastic, but we got to do what we got to do, and we got to come out with the victory because we need to win this week. Okay, last question comes from Trogaholic. Coach, coming out with a win despite Excadrill going down turn 1. How did it make the rest of the squad feel to be able to come out with a victory on their own without your number 1 pick? Now, this was a very interesting question, and ultimately, after turn 1, we beat the Crimson Seabad with what was essentially starting off 6-5. So, I mean, Excadrill went down, who we expected to do big things that match, but the rest of the team was able to pull it together and pick up pick up the slack. So, I mean, it really made the team feel good because they were able to perform without the first overall pick and who is one of the top tier threats in this format. So, being able to adjust, support each other, and just overall kick some butt in that match really boosted the team's confidence, and it's something they're going to need in that locker room as we move forward to play A Drive in the St. Louis Rampardos. Alright guys, this has been Oldmantup, and this has been your Week 4 post-game press conference. If you have any questions about things I've said or would like to point out mistakes that I've made, feel free to do that in the comment section below, and I will address them each appropriately. Alright guys, this has been Oldmantup, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.